Alrighty, the Capricorn extroverted feeling would be the getting everyone on the same page about working on projects, and then the Aquarius introverted sensing would be like you making sure that, like it'd be like you working on futuristic kind of technological advancements that could, help maintain, maintain people's individuality and, other ways that those people are able to be progressive. So, you might be someone that ends up, coming up with futuristic innovations as far like when you go back home, or your innovations might be things that have to do with maintaining people's bodies, or maybe making some kind of technology that helps people remember things, or something like that. Because, like, that's what makes you feel better, when you know that you were able to, like, cover those things. And then, let's see. And then, going from that point of view, so then you'd have the looking into people's, different perspectives about, how they keep their routine, if you want to go by your chart. But realistically, when I really look at it, I know I've said that a few times now, but you get where I'm coming from with that. But yeah, so I would say, I guess I would ask, if you really look at it, what do you feel like you narrow in a possibility about more of, really? Like, do you narrow, which NI is like the possibilities within this moment, it's like the singularity, it's all the possibilities are still there, but it's, what can happen, like, it's not, in a certain way, the intuitions in general are a lot more similar as far as, like, covering all the possibilities. It's just that introverted intuitions kind of all the possibilities being compressed in a way to one thing, like one object, one timeline, you being able to try to basically put all these possibilities into a certain thing, a certain frame of reference, basically. So do you feel like you do that more with how people have fun, and how they express themselves, and where the attention and spotlight is? Or do you feel like you do that more with, the work that people do, and the detail, and how they, what they do with their day? And, that would be the difference between the two. I was thinking, how they have, like, the president's schedule up. It might be like a really NI Virgo thing to know a lot about. Like, it's like you have everyone's schedule in mind, and, like, you keep track of that, and where people are going to end up based on that. Whereas with the Leo and I, it would be like you keep in mind, like, kind of, like, if you were on a stage or something, like, all the different kind of points of views of, each person's position, like, in a play or in a movie or song, where they kind of show up at, like, when they get their time to shine, things like that. Maybe, in a way, kind of sportsmanship, even though Leo isn't really sports, it's more of an Aries thing, but, kind of that thing, like, you got to play this, now it's fair for this other person to get to play this now. Or maybe not even it's fair, but the fairness would be, you, because the third house from Leo is, kind of you on a whim, trying to adjust things to make them peaceful. But, in itself, you might just be aware of really like what people are doing in the situation. And kind of have this kind of internal video editor towards looking at the different sides of that. So yeah, so looking at what the other kind of function and sign combinations would be. Yeah, so the next one in line there would be that sixth function, which would be the eighth house. It'd be you keeping track of how other people are thinking and communicating about things going wrong. And kind of like in the short trips when people are adjusting, like going from like place to place like that, how like if you're giving someone directions or something, you might be really good at telling people how to avoid going a certain route or something like that, or really seeing the different ways that being really researched and informed about how people can think or communicate about something the wrong way and things like that. And then also I've kind of noticed this thing, which I guess it could technically go either way, where you could be like afraid to talk if there's a lot of negative stuff or experiences I guess you've had. Car coming. But yeah, so, or I've noticed the thing where there's the two different sides where people like talk really fast because they have like an insecurity or something like that. But in this case, it'd be kind of like you looking at the data of who ends up doing that as well as you doing that, and kind of keeping the group objective in terms of staying on topic and towards how it can go the wrong way or something like that. That's kind of the the idea of that, how that comes together. And then next one would be the Libra introverted feeling, which, like I was saying, the geek psychology guy, it's his first house, so you'd kind of see how that like comes off more, where it might be for you something that happens more in the background. And a lot of times what I've noticed is the people that kind of get credit for it, that are seen as that, they may not be as all-encompassing with theirs as someone's 12th house. So you may be able to kind of see through a lot of that where other people may not, especially if your son's there. But I'm just speaking purely on how that operates, like, so then, and it would be your like path of least resistance too. Like it would seem like the whole universe and world would kind of be pushing you more towards processing the emotions that are necessary to keep things peaceful. And I guess in regards to myself, what I've kind of been contemplating, or was just contemplating with that, because as the Aries, it's like I need more of the Libra, is really how much for us to really make this progress, or the progress that I'm wanting to make, at least, where we actually have like all these abilities awakened and stuff that we picture in our mind. There really needs to become something in the external environment that can trigger these really deep core parts of our body, like how the scientists are discovering that we can reverse aging and stuff like that. And it's kind of a discovery of just like the inside of your body like forgets or gets lazy over time, or just kind of like gives up. So it's like something has to activate these really deep, core, aspects of all this, basically. And I think it's a part of that, that conflict resolution, the things that are conflicting inside someone really getting like rectified, so that what you're picturing life could be like on the inside, really it starts to move towards the outside, so it eases up, so that you can, when you go within yourself in that environment, you can go like even deeper into what needs to be covered. Yeah, and lastly, the seventh house, which would be the eighth function, and it's kind of seen, because the seventh house is seen as what other people do and not yourself, and you'd have Taurus there, so you'd have Taurus extroverted sensing. So it's kind of, you see other people making this impact, this kind of like solid impact on the world, or just kind of moving the world, whereas you might see yourself as someone that's kind of brainstorming about, the deep aspects of what's happening, with the emotions, but you may not see yourself as someone, actually making impacts on the physical world as you're doing that. So if you kind of pull this whole picture together, then you get someone that's really, going off when they're by themselves, really getting this inner peace about how they feel, and then being bombarded when they go into the world with all these like, deep lessons, or like deep aspects of things that they have to learn, or deal with, when they just came from this like super zen place, and they find themselves having to getting everyone together to cover the details so they can get back to that peace, and they start like organizing different projects and plans, which would come back to their fifth function of the NI, of really like fitting in everyone's place, essentially, so that the right work is getting done and everything's covered. And then the introverted sensing, like being detailed about the data, or like kind of the science of how all that fits together, and not really feeling comfortable unless it does, or like other people may have to come in, which is why it correlates with the like the aspirational, or Well, yeah, just the aspirational function, the fourth function, sometimes called the inferior. I think it's called the inferior. Well, I'm pretty certain it's called the inferior because it's related to your comfort zone and how you're taken care of, and like maybe how you're seen as kind of like, you know, how when they say it's like undeveloped, it's like literally kind of like you're a baby or child kind of, and other people have to step in. But ironically, with the Scorpio rising, you're really detached. But it may be that because of all the possibilities of all the depth, then what you need is learning how to be detached from what's happening. And that's how other people have to step in and kind of, you know, help you, you know, breathe, and, you know, not like have it all, you know, have you end up taking it personally. And then, even though you might not even, a lot of times people may even forget that that's really what's happening, that they're even doing. But, and then, yeah, and in doing so, it would kind of bring together how like these kind of conflicts may come up in the communication, and then it's like you'd have to structure out like this collaboration of people quelling this, you know, chaos, and you know, and of course, you know, you would be processing the decisions being made about how people feel about each of these different things at the highest point. So kind of what's attributed to kind of like INFPs and stuff is really what the ENTPs are doing is, you know, and I think sometimes too because of the SE, or, well, either way, the SE that's used by the ESTP or ENTP, it comes off kind of like insensitive. But sometimes people need to like hear things that, you know, bother them or, you know, kind of shake them up. Because that can be, in that moment, what's keeping them from being able to process what they need to process. Like, and you could say something that seems rude to one person, but to the person you're saying it to, them completely not think it's rude at all, and, you know, vice versa. So all that. So, and then that bleeds kind of into the, you know, excuse that term, you know, kind of runs on into the, like, how it works for the eighth function of that seventh house. So, and then I guess with that, you know, also with the seventh house too, it's kind of the type of things that you feel like you have to do more when you're around other people to relate to them more. So maybe you feel like you have to be more grounded around others and not, you know, kind of having to think about all this, you know, deep turmoil stuff. Maybe you have to feel like you have to, you know, give off this persona of being really grounded and, you know, press that out. But yeah, I think that should pretty much cover the question. And if you want to know more about that, yeah, leave a comment. And all that. So yeah, thank you, and I'll talk to you later.